Nvidia and CEO Jensen Huang, and we're about a couple days away from him speaking at CES, which I know you'll be there. It's a big speech, and the market will be hinging on it.
Yeah, that's right, Brian. There's going to be a number of high-profile keynotes from some of the biggest chip companies in the world, but obviously Jensen Huang's keynote will be the largest of them all. Last year, they showed off some new gaming chips as well as a new smaller desktop size AI processing unit. They called that Digits at that point. They since released it with various partners. They discussed their push into physical AI, robots. That's just called physical AI for some reason now. Self-driving cars, things along those lines. And so you can expect to hear more of that this year as well. We'll have to see exactly what they announce. Don't expect their high-end chip. Don't expect to hear anything about Vera Rubin or any kind of announcement related to that. That they save for their GTC conference in March. And so this will likely be some of the smaller announcements that they would normally have at other events around the world that they tend to host. But really, I think last year they came in to CES and kind of knocked everyone on their socks, out of their socks rather. And I think that you're going to see the same thing this year. It's going to be the hottest ticket in town. It will be the talk of the strip for the majority of the week. But as I said, AMD will also be there with their own announcements. Intel will be there. Qualcomm will be there. So that the chip makers are going to be kind of running the show there. And it's frankly all going to come down to AI.
And as clearly, sure, we could debate this, but Nvidia is really the stir that stirred the straw. I should say it stirs the drink for all things AI.
100%. NVIDIA has been the leader when it comes to AI. And if you take a look at the semiconductor space in general for 2025, I mean, it was gangbusters, as Dan was just basically saying. They have been the leaders when it comes to this whole trade. But also, if you look at the top 10 companies of the S&P 500 for last year, at the biggest gainers, I was looking at SanDisk, Western Digital, Micron, Seagate. This is all data, compute, infrastructure, research. You also had Palantir in there, and you had Robinhood, which was that retail trader for this AI trade. That's the retail trader that's been sort of fueling so much of this and so much enthusiasm about this AI trade. But yes, to your point, NVIDIA has been the leader and the one that everyone will be paying attention to.
Dave, if one is getting bored a little bit with the Mag 7, maybe they're a little more cautious on it given the valuations they trade out. Where do they go? Are there under the radar tech names people can play that still get them exposure to AI?
Well, it's interesting. I think the AI trade itself has sort of evolved, right? So the initial push was into the pure picks and shovels, and NVIDIA, of course, being the massive winner, continues to be a winner there, of course. But now we're seeing it evolve, right? We just mentioned a moment ago a company like SanDisk. What's now investors are saying is, what memory do we need in order to actually run these large language models sort of in perpetuity? And that's one of the reasons why stocks like Micron, SanDisk, and others have done so well. So I actually think the trade is now evolving, not necessarily into where the most obvious winners are. What the big question mark is sort of what's going to happen in the software space. Names like ServiceNow, Salesforce have sort of been disappointing in their ability to produce return on investment in their AI build out. Which is one of the reasons why a company like Alphabet was really the big winner last year, because they're the triple play when it comes to AI. They have large language models, they're a hyperscaler themselves, and they can deliver that sort of in enterprise and consumer applications. So I think the trade is still on. It's going to be a little bit more volatile because investors are going to start kind of really being more discerning about that spending, just as we saw with disappointments around Oracle's build out, because it's going to be debt funded as opposed to funded from free cash flow.
Dan, Dave brings up a good point on memory pricing. We heard memory pricing has gone through the roof. We heard Micron talk about it. I asked HP's CEO about it too. They've had to raise computer prices. How much of a focus will that be at CES?
I think it's going to be kind of a side conversation to the big announcements, but it's the reality of the situation now in the tech industry. Look, they're raising prices on certain products. If they're not raising prices, there's the potential for them to downgrade some devices and sell them that way so that they don't have to use as much memory. And, this is all obviously from the data center build out where, the DRAM is being kind of pushed off onto the high bandwidth memory for the data centers. And that kind of leaves all the other uses for DRAM kind of in the wind. And so, I think this is going to be a topic of discussion. It could be a bottleneck for some time for the consumer tech industry and the enterprise tech industry. Don't forget, basically everything that is a computer uses DRAM. And so they're all going to take a hit, all of those types of products. So, whether it's, as you said, HP, Dell, Lenovo, Asus, those computer makers, we could start to see it leak into smartphones. I don't necessarily think Apple would be impacted as much because of their supply chain know-how, but we could start to see it hit there. And then, look, cars also use DRAM. And so that could be a component there that, again, hits the car tech industry for a while.
Dan, you see those pickle glasses that got released? X is really talking about them. They're wild.
I have not seen any pickle glasses. No, I have to look them up, though.
Yeah, they're wild. They're almost like everything you want out of Meta sunglasses, but you never really got, which is really interesting. Fascinating release. I've been watching all the posts out there this morning.